This is Eric Wayne with United Realty Group, a business broker, and I've been a licensed business broker since 1989 here in Florida. I live in Broward County, and I was trying to help, sell any businesses that, people want to sell during this time. I have sold many restaurants. I'll show you a contract of one we just recently sold, and I'll show you the Association of Business Brokers website to show you what they've been selling for. If you give me about 15 minutes, I can give you a quick education as to what things are happening in the market as far as business sales are concerned, and you'll let us know what you'd like us to do, if anything, if we could work together. I do have buyers. I'm spending about 50 grand a year promoting the listings that we're charged with trying to sell. If I do take a listing with you, the whole world will know about it, all the other agents, all the other prospective buyers, the people in my database, the other 4,000 agents that are in my office. We got 20 offices in Florida. And 2 associations, the Miami Board of Realtors that work with businesses and the BBF teams that sell across the state of Florida. So having said that, let me show you a few things that may be helpful for you. In the association, there are solds. I'll go over what's going on. In 19, the association sold 1,314 businesses. This year, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to sell that volume. What does that mean? That means it's harder now to sell a business than ever before. You don't want to put up barriers for someone to take that lease or that business off your hands. It's harder for the professionals like myself. It's certainly harder for someone trying to do it on their own. Probably impossible trying to do it on your own. The first 7 months of last year, the association sold 745 businesses. The average days on market was 274, 86% down payment. This year, we only sold 449 with 60% of last year's volume. It's taking 300 days on the market and 85% down payment. What does that mean? That means it's taking 10% longer. Average days on market when priced like I'm about to show you is taking 300 days. So you have to weigh that. If you want to pay 300 days in rent, you want to deal with this for 300 more days. If not, then we have to adjust the pricing so it's more attractive. Down payment has generally been 85% down and 15% seller financing. That allows me to co-broke between 2 offices. That way, not only am I looking for the retail buyer, but I'm looking for the agent that might be working with a buyer and the buyers in my database and the people that we know. We call the competition. We're asking everywhere. But this 50% really, really helps. And that's something you can't do for yourself because you don't know how to contact the other agents. You're not part of an association, a business brokers association. So that's a handicap for you. This is a brochure that we send out. As you can see, we sell restaurants. It's one of our essentials. We have different retail sites that we advertise on. Again, 50 grand. I got a whole tech department posting and, social media, the whole thing. In 2017, when this was originally created, we had 16 offices. Today we have 20 offices and 4,000 agents. I'm happy to report that I am the #1 team selling businesses in the 20 offices that we have of 4,000 agents. That's a picture of me with some of the happy sales that we've done. I am licensed to do residential and business. At the moment, I don't have any residential listings because we're pursuing only small businesses, and I only work for sellers like yourself. So when we take a listing, 100% of our time is spent on selling the listings that we're charged with selling, and that's my dedication to my owners and my sellers. We have a comprehensive pre-qualified database. I'm over 30 years in the industry, dedicated, experienced. We do market analysis, local and global marketing. We do aerials if necessary, edited photos, the whole thing. Here's some of our reviews. We can get you a soft copy of that if you'd like to look it over. For now, let me share this with you. This was a restaurant we just sold. This is actually applicable to what you're dealing with. This was a business that I actually sold to these people, and then the seller was my buyer a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Now they became the seller. So the buyer became the seller. Now there's a new buyer. This restaurant happened to have had a beautiful location. It was like 30 years in business. It sold for $45,000 because it was sold closed. So because of the coronavirus, they closed the business and they sold it below what the value of the equipment was just to get out of the lease and the personal guarantee that was associated with it. And they let it go for $45,000. 2 years ago, it was $115,000 or $110,000, I think, originally. And they also put some new equipment in there. They had to fix some things like air conditioning and pizza ovens and different things. But in order to sell, the market required that they sold it at 45. And there was some seller financing. So it wasn't really attractive, but it was the only thing that was available. And these people needed to get out. This happened in July. This was signed, to actually close. It closed July 4th. And as you can see, we use a specific document. This is a 17-page Business Brokers of Florida document. This is included with our commission. We use association forms. So it saves you from having to hire attorneys at $300, $350 an hour. The only closing documents that you'll have would be from the attorney. We do use a transaction attorney. He puts in about 20 hours of time drafting up closing documents. He charges $2,500 for the transaction, $1,250 per side. But I just want to share with you all the work that goes into this. This is the 17-page document. So you can see what's involved. There's actually more. There's a note, there's a bill of sale, and so forth. Let me go to the association. I want to show you what's recently sold, and that'll help you understand as far as valuation is concerned. When a business is closed or not making money, it's generally sold for the parts value. And here I'm going to show you everything. 20 years association, the Business Brokers of Florida. This is the sold database. There's 22,000 solds from 1,100 agents trying to sell and being successful for 20 years. And we save all the data, so times like now, I can pull any county in Florida, if I want to look it up by county. I'm going to say all Florida. I'm going to say all restaurants. If we want to be more specific with which restaurants you want to look at, but for right now, I just want to look at the entire restaurant industry in Florida with gross sales under 125. I'm not going to compare you to these guys, because if they're doing 10 million in sales, it's not fair to compare you. But I want to see the maximum sales price of 125, and then I'm going to sort them. The adjusted net, let me just touch on that. The net is what's on the tax returns. The adjusted net is all of the profits. So if somebody's taking in cash, paying personal bills through the business, the tax return is not accurate. We want to know what the true horsepower of a business is. I understand you didn't get to profitability, only $40,000, but if it was a bigger business, we really look at the adjusted net. I'm going to leave that blank for right now. How we're going to prove the financials. Is it on a tax return? I don't think it is. P&L? I don't think it is. Owner to prove. Estimate, pro forma. We can talk about all these ways that we prove the financials to a prospective buyer. The less data that we have or less proof that we have of how successful they might be, the less value they're going to put on the sales price. It's a higher risk. I'm going to show you with the comments. So let me show you the restaurants that have sold in the past 20 years under 125,000 in sales, and I'm going to sort them by their adjusted net. And I'm going to show you the quantity of them. There's 1,333, all these different pages, but I'm not going to get into all this with you, because what really matters is if you're a dark restaurant, if you're closed or negative cash flow, how does it work? So they had sales of 107, assets of 24.9. They sold it for 50. Assets of 22, because see, the adjusted net really has no value. It's a negative number. People aren't going to pay a multiple of this number. So the only thing you're really selling is the assets. Here they sold for 1 times the asset value. 55, they sold for 12. 71, they sold for 55. 51, they sold for 35, right? 25, they sold for 30. 23, they sold for 42. 9,500, they sold here. 110, they sold for 43. 150, they sold for 150. 1,190,000 sold for 190. 125 sold for 125. Total assets, again, this sounds like a very big location if you look at it. 4.2 sold for 4.2. Assets 175, 175, 100, 100, 300, 300. So the question becomes, what are your assets? And when we say assets, we're not talking about new value. We're not talking about today's value. We're talking about the used value. If you went on eBay and you looked at those items, how much are they selling for? Put them on a list with those values and total it out. That's pretty much where we want to go. Or I can ask for anything that you want, but you got to consider how many days. We know it's over 300 days for other businesses. So I'll do it any way that you want. Keep in mind, we need an equipment list. We need whatever financials you can offer, even if you just have to guess, give us your best guess. and some images, and I will go to market. All agents in the world will know that I have this listing. Buyers that are searching on any of the main retail sites that we pay for, and there's dozens of them, and my database and my networking and my office and so forth and so on. So we'd love to work with you. We'll be fair and competitive. Let us know how we can help. My cell is 954-562-2019, ericsellmybusiness.com. Happy to help you. Look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.